In the darkest corners of 15th century Wallachia, one name crushed the silence like a blade hitting stone. Vlad III Dracula, the son of the dragon. A man built from iron, vengeance, and wounds that never healed. Some honored him. Many hated him, but everyone feared him. His world was carved from betrayal, soaked in blood, and shaped by a childhood twisted in captivity. From that furnace rose a ruler who would redefine cruelty, discipline, and raw determination, leaving behind a legacy so intense it blurred the line between man and myth. But behind the legends, behind the horror stories, behind the impossible brutality people still whisper about today, who was he really? Welcome back to our deep dive into the history of the Ottoman Empire. And today, we step into the life of the most dangerous enemy the sultans of Osman ever faced. Vlad Dracula of Romania. The story of Vlad Dracula really begins long before the man himself ever swung a sword. It starts with a family caught in the storm between two giants, the Kingdom of Hungary on one side, and the rising Ottoman Empire on the other. Vlad's father, Vlad II, known as Vlad Dracula, the dragon, wasn't just a noble. He was a player in a deadly political game. A man sworn to defend Christian Europe, yet forced to bow when the Ottoman sultans demanded tribute. Wallachia, his homeland, sat right on the fault line of two worlds, and any mistaken sign of weakness could get a ruler crushed. To prove his loyalty, Vlad Dracula made a brutal sacrifice that would define his sons' lives forever. He handed them over as hostages to the Ottoman court. Vlad III and his younger brother Radu weren't even teenagers. One moment, they were princes. The next, prisoners. Inside the Ottoman palace, the boys stepped into a world of luxury on the surface but fear underneath. Every lesson, every meal, every breath was a reminder. Disappoint the sultan and die. Vlad learned strategy, languages, mathematics, but he also learned something darker. He saw what happened to disobedient captives. He watched beatings, tortures, and executions carried out as casually as ordering breakfast. This was the crucible that forged him. His younger brother, Radu, adapted Mobby too well. Handsome, charming, naturally diplomatic, Radu became close to the Ottoman court, even to the future Sultan Mehmed II. He smiled. He obeyed. He fit in. Vlad didn't. He resisted. Is cold. He refused to bend to the culture around him. Every day was a test of will, and he refused to break. He built walls inside himself, iron walls, and behind them grew a personality shaped by two things. He learned that fear was a weapon. He learned that obedience could be forced, and he learned that men could be controlled, not just by power, but by the terror of what happens if they disobey. All these lessons would one day become the backbone of his rule. Then came the moment that shattered whatever innocence he had left. News arrived from Wallachia. His father, Vlad Dracula, had been betrayed and murdered by his own nobles. His older brother Mircea was tortured and buried alive. Vlad and Radu were still prisoners in enemy hands when they discovered their family had been annihilated. Think about that. A 13-year-old boy, far from home, powerless, surrounded by an empire holding him by the throat, suddenly realizing the people back home, the ones he was supposed to rule, one day had murdered his family. That kind of wound doesn't heal. It hardens. And as the years passed, that hardening turned into a simmering fire. A fire of revenge. A fire of distrust. A fire that would one day erupt and swallow Wallachia whole. But the story was far from over. Because the Ottoman Empire, the same power that imprisoned him, would one day help him reclaim his throne. By the time Vlad Dracula was finally released from Ottoman control, Wallachia was a broken chessboard. His father, dead. His brother, murdered. His homeland carved up by nobles who only cared about their own pockets. And his throne, his birthright, was now a prize fought over by rivals, foreign kings, and treacherous boys. So when Vlad stepped back into Wallachia for the first time, he wasn't just a young man returning home. He was a storm walking on two legs. But even storms need timing. The Ottomans, eager to install a ruler loyal to them, backed Vlad. as their candidate for the throne, and in 1448, barely 17 years old, Vlad Dracula became voivode of Wallachia for the first time. It should have been triumphant. It wasn't. The throne he inherited was built on sand. No real support, no loyal factions, no firm authority, just a teenager thrown into a viper pit. And the vipers struck fast. Jan Hunyadi, governor of Hungary, and one of the most powerful men in Eastern Europe, wanted his own candidate on the Wallachian throne. The boyars preferred someone weaker. Foreign armies moved like shadows across the borders. Vlad's first reign lasted weeks, an eye blink in the timeline of kings. One moment he sat on the throne, and the next he was on the run. Forced out, abandoned, hunted. But here's the thing about Vlad III. Every failure sharpened him. Every betrayal hardened him. Every setback taught him exactly who his enemies were. From exile, he watched the chaos inside Wallachia get worse. Boyars killing each other for land, Hungarian warlords installing puppet rulers, Ottoman envoys treating Wallachia like their personal playground. The country needed order, strong leadership, a fist that could smash corruption instead of playing nice with it. And Vlad now, older, colder, and fueled by a lifetime of betrayal, was ready to be that fist. Over the next 7 years, he built a network of alliances. He sought support from the Hungarian court tyrannically, from the same political machine that once drove him into exile. It should have been triumphant. It wasn't. The throne he inherited was built on sand. No real support, no loyal factions, no firm authority, just a teenager thrown into a viper pit. And the vipers struck fast. Jan Hunyadi, governor of Hungary, and one of the most powerful men in Eastern Europe, wanted his own candidate on the Wallachian throne. The boyars preferred someone weaker. Foreign armies moved like shadows across the borders. Vlad's first reign lasted weeks, an eye blink in the timeline of kings. One moment he sat on the throne, and the next he was on the run. Forced out, abandoned, hunted. But here's the thing about Vlad III. Every failure sharpened him. Every betrayal hardened him. Every setback taught him exactly who his enemies were. From exile, he watched the chaos inside Wallachia get worse. Boyars killing each other for land, Hungarian warlords installing puppet rulers, Ottoman envoys treating Wallachia like their personal playground. The country needed order, strong leadership, a fist that could smash corruption instead of playing nice with it. And Vlad now, older, colder, and fueled by a lifetime of betrayal, was ready to be that fist. Over the next 7 years, he built a network of alliances. He sought support from the Hungarian court tyrannically, from the same political machine that once drove him into exile. It was December 25th, 1642. In the tiny village of England, a baby came into the world so small and weak that neighbors whispered he might not live past sunrise. His father had died before he was even born, and by the age of 3, his mother remarried, leaving him behind with his grandmother. From the very start, Isaac Newton knew what it felt like to be alone, unwanted, invisible. But this isolation would forge something extraordinary. As a boy, Newton wasn't like other children. While kids ran and laughed through the fields, he sat quietly, tinkering with tiny machines, miniature windmills, water wheels, endlessly observing birds, water, and windmills turning in the village. He barely spoke. Yet inside his mind, questions raced. Why does this move this way? Why do objects fall? How does the world actually work? School wasn't any easier. Shy and quiet, Newton was bullied. One day, after a particularly harsh hit, he made a choice. He wouldn't fight back. Instead, he would rise above, not with fists, but with his mind. From that moment, he devoted himself to learning with a focus so fierce it bordered on obsession. Every book he could find, every scrap of knowledge, he devoured it, driven not by ambition, but by the pain of feeling small and the need to prove himself. At the age of 18, Newton left Woolsthorpe for Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious schools in England. Life there was harsh. Poor and working as a sizer, sweeping floors, serving meals, Cleaning rooms, he saw the world of the wealthy students, but never envied them. Instead, his mind wandered among the stars. Why does the moon stay in the sky? Why do planets spin endlessly? What is light really made of? The professors still taught the ancient ideas of Aristotle. But Newton knew they weren't enough. He wanted to understand the universe itself, using nothing but reason, logic, and mathematics. In his notebooks, he filled page after page with thoughts no one dared dream of. And then, disaster. In 1665, the plague hit England. Cambridge shut down. Newton returned home to Woolsthorpe. At first, the solitude felt like a curse. But then, something extraordinary happened. Sitting in his mother's orchard, he watched an apple fall. Not on his head, but on his mind. Why did it fall straight down? Not sideways, not up. What invisible force pulled it? And could this same force move the moon, hold planets in orbit, maybe even govern the entire cosmos? While the rest of England suffered, Newton locked himself away, working day and night. In just 2 years, he did what most of humanity hadn't even imagined. He invented calculus, revealed the true nature of white light through a simple prism, and began the work that would define him forever. The law of universal gravitation. When he returned to Cambridge, armed with visions of the universe, not everyone was convinced. Robert Hooke, a respected scientist, openly challenged him. Critics doubted. Friends argued. Newton, sensitive and solitary, withdrew. For nearly 2 decades, his ideas stayed hidden, locked in the brilliant fortress of his mind. Then, in 1684, a visitor changed everything. Edmund Halley, the famous astronomer, heard whispers of Newton's genius. He begged Newton to share his discoveries. He encouraged, supported, and even funded the publication. And in 1687, Newton's masterpiece arrived. Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica. In it, he revealed 3 laws of motion. 1. A body at rest stays at rest unless acted upon. 2. Force equals mass times acceleration. 3. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But the crown jewel, universal gravitation. The same invisible force pulling apples to the ground also pulls moons, planets, and stars, holding the universe together. For the first time, humanity could truly understand motion from the smallest apple to the farthest star. Newton had written the laws of nature itself. Fame followed. Newton became president of the Royal Society of London, master of the Royal Mint, and eventually Sir Isaac Newton, knighted by Queen Anne. But his restless mind never stopped. He studied alchemy, ancient prophecies, and secret codes, always searching for hidden truths, never fully at peace. In March 1727, Newton passed away in London at 84. Buried in Westminster Abbey, an honor rarely given to scientists, his discoveries, however, never died. Every time an apple falls, every spacecraft launches, every lesson on light, gravity, or motion, we follow Newton's path. Near tend et umblisside, I seem only like a boy playing on the seashore, finding a smoother pebble, a prettier shell, while the great ocean of truth lay undiscovered before me. That lonely, abandoned child had unlocked the invisible forces that shape our world and the universe. And here's the lesson for you. Sometimes the hardest beginnings create the greatest minds. Never let loneliness or pain dim your fire. Your curiosity can move the world.